You are listening to the Independent Dealer Podcast with hosts Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's do this.
Hello, welcome to this episode of the Independent Dealer Podcast. Today, Luke and we're going to go over Luke's basically 8 steps that he's outlined for the virtual sales process. We all know that with what's going on out there today, we are being forced to do appointment only. We're being forced to really step into the 21st century, right, Luke?
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, things have been totally turned upside down on their head here in the last 15 days or so on how we should operate. And I think, honestly, we probably should have moved to a lot of these things. And honestly, I did move to a lot of these things a while back. And it's helped us, kind of stay ahead of this and stay on it. But it's definitely something that dealers should probably put in place now and should have been doing before. And if not, should for sure do in the future. So I think it's moving us forward a little quicker maybe than some of us wanted to move forward. Yeah.
So this kind of, the virtual showroom or digital retailing, it's kind of got a couple different names, and it's basically what everyone argues is the Carvana or the Vroom or the, whoever, this whole digital process where you see the car on their website, you get comfortable with it, you submit your financing, you get your terms, you e-sign your documents, you take delivery, blah, 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 right?
Yep.
And I've been arguing for years, I wish I could find a single website provider that integrated all of those things like a Carvana website, a real good walk around, the 360 view, the finance, modules where they can submit their credit and get a score and get an interest rate and mess with their down payment. And I think it's possible, but you got to have like 10 different
it's not
providers to really get a robust website.
No, I'm a dealer socket person, and Dealer Fire, their website does have a couple of add-ons that you can use. I think now that they may even let you test drive for free during this process that has that. But there's also some add-ons to other websites. There's some actual companies out there now that are doing that. I demoed one, I think, last year at NADA. That was really cool. Did everything you're talking about, but it wasn't a seamless, the website didn't do it. It was another company that had to layer over your website. So definitely.
That's the argument I have. Is it's like I can buy 10 different vendors and try to piece them all together in my website, a spin car, finance app, blah, 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 DocuSign this. But anyways, Luke, that's obviously the very first step in your process is we've got to make sure that we have our virtual showroom just as best as we can within our budgets. I know we can't all afford a Carvana site. We all can't afford this. Luke likes Dealer Filer. I use AST. But we all need to make sure our virtual showroom is set up, right?
Right. And, I just started buying some cars on ACV just last week because there were so many of these auctions shut down, Jeff. And I got a phone call Friday, Thursday, after I bought a couple of cars and trying to set up some different things. And the lady asked me this question, and I think this is going to blow your mind, Jeff.
I hope so.
She said, do you have a website?
Oh.
And I go, what do you mean? What do you mean do I have a website? Of course I have a website. What are you talking about? And she goes, it's a 50-50 guess or 50-50 answer when I ask this to people who buy on ACV. And I go, I don't even understand that. So
yeah,
I wouldn't figure there's anybody listening to us out there without a website. But if there is, I'm going to tell you one thing that you need to write down, whoever you may be. Stop doing what you're doing right now. Well, finish this podcast out. But get a website as soon as you finish listening to the podcast. If you don't have a website, you're probably missing 80% of your traffic. So your virtual showroom has to be there. Yep. People are looking on the internet for cars.
Yeah, and to Luke's point, I know when we approve member requests for the Facebook group, it asks that question, what is your website? And I do see quite a few come through that say Facebook, or I don't have one yet. And I get it if you're starting up and you've got 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 cars that you sell out of, and it's not quite there yet. And let me phrase that, you're in the first couple months of operation. I get it. But
I think you should have it. I think you should have your website up and going before you open your dealership. That is my opinion.
yeah,
If you
but
truly,
if you're selling 3 cars out of your driveway or out of the dirt lot next to your house, that's what I'm saying. But what you need to remember is that's the only real estate that you own on the internet. You don't own Facebook. You don't own Craigslist. You don't own any of these people that can put blockers. They could ban you tomorrow.
Yep.
And your whole reputation is built on Facebook. You're done for. If your whole reputation is built on Craigslist, it could all change tomorrow. So you need to know that the website is the one thing that you own, technically, that is your presence on the internet. And there's a ton of turnkey type sites. You don't have to build it from scratch. Don't build it from scratch.
Yeah, when I originally opened our virtual showroom, our website, and so I've been in the car business long enough, Jeff, to remember when people didn't have websites. And so we had, I think I told you before, I think we sold our first car on eBay in like 2004. Okay. And that was before we had a website. Mm-hmm. I think we launched our website in 2005 with Auto Revo, and it's a turnkey, very simple site to use. That's very affordable. And I was with them for years. A really good site, really good company, in my opinion. But we had kind of outgrown, I think, what they had. So I think you could go out there and get a website. Probably, I mean, Jeff, I don't know, $300 a month, couldn't you?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know. I haven't shopped them in so long. The basic entry level cars, 1, 2, 3, or cars for sale, or AST, or preferably it integrates whatever DMS you're using. So you're eliminating the double entry. You don't have to enter the car in your DMS and then also enter and upload everything to your website as well.
And I think most do. I think you would be hard pressed to find one not. But let's dig a little deeper into the virtual showroom. So let's talk about cars. The amount of cars you need, the amount of pictures of the cars you need. What we're going on right now with people not really wanting to come out and not being able to come out a lot of places. You need a lot of pictures, right, Jeff?
Agree.
What's your average amount of pictures per car?
We do 20 on every car, because that's what I found is the magic piece for me to get it uploaded to my Facebook catalog.
Okay.
And I think that's average. You'd probably want more, I imagine.
We do 42 pretty much is a standard base. SUVs usually end up at around 52 or so. But,
wow.
And we've always done that. And I find that it hits every
panel, every switch,
every switch, everything. And that's what I want when I'm purchasing something. And so I think that it's helpful. Can you get away with less than that? Probably so, but that's where we landed. And we used to do a walk around every car. Now I haven't been doing that lately. Our website integrates with YouTube, so we can upload the video to YouTube. But there's things that you need to do to build your virtual showroom. You need to write a description on every car you do as well. And it doesn't have to be a huge, long description, but it's something that should be on there, kind of giving the customer a little background of the car and what the equipment it may have.
Yeah, that's a good question I have personally. I don't do specific descriptions on my vehicles. I have one cut and paste, a couple paragraphs that just describe the dealership. I figure all the description is in the VIN burst and the details. I don't write up, this is a great Ford Focus with new tires and it has a brand new paint job and some old lady drove it to church every Sunday and blah, 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 blah. Should I be doing that, or should I pay a third-party site to get those
it depends on your goal.
Stories?
It depends on your goal. Now, you got a squeeze page, right? So
your choke page, yeah.
So you're not, as I understand, you're probably not wanting your vehicle to show up in Google search, right? Or not?
No, I mean, I don't know. I don't see why not.
Okay. So what I would think, if you've got a very specific piece of inventory, you need more than a VIN burst. You need a description written that picks up the really nuances of your car. So we may be talking about a higher end piece of inventory than you and I may sell, but all my trucks, we try to get to the specific on what we're actually selling. So I think it really depends on your business model. And I don't think it's for everybody to write a really descriptive description, but you need something there. You need some more filler in your website.
Okay. And that comes down to, obviously, like you said, your goals, your availability, I imagine too, because that takes it from a 10-second copy and paste to a 10-minute. I need to actually go look at that car and make sure I'm getting every little add-on or change or thing that's going on.
A lot of your inventory management systems, I use Inventory Plus. They have something called Auto Ink. It not only does it explode the VIN, it also writes a little description for you. And you can also have a saved description that goes with every description, if you got what I'm saying. And so there's different ways to utilize the systems we use to make it work a little better.
Okay. So we've got our virtual showroom set up. That's our step one. Now, step two, we need to be helping kind of tweak our sales staff, right? I mean, things are a little bit different these days and maybe going forward forever, but we're going to change the way that the sales staff talk to a potential customer.
Yeah. And that's, so I would train my sales staff, if they're on an internet lead or on a phone lead, is to set an appointment, right? Appointment. And that appointment back in the day was, I want you in my dealership, right?
Yep. Just come on in. Bring your pay stubs. Bring your down payment. Bring your proof of residency. Come on.
Can you get here this afternoon or first thing in the morning? Either or, right?
Yeah.
And okay, you can come this afternoon. Okay, between or at 2 o'clock or at 4 o'clock. Okay, I can be there around 2:15. I got you down. That's what we would do, right? Well, now we can't do that. We don't want customers coming to our dealership right this second, and some can't. We want to make sure that we have everything in hand before they get here. We lock the front door, Jeff. We don't let people in our dealership right now. So it has changed.
Yeah, you used to lock it when they came in, and then you wouldn't let them out, and now you're keeping them from coming in. Okay.
So what we did is we changed, and instead of asking for an appointment for someone to show up, we're setting a virtual appointment. I'm sending an email saying, hey, is it possible I can call you, an appointment, like a call appointment or a virtual appointment with using Zoom like we're using right here, or Skype or FaceTime. We want to get a little bit of face-to-face with that customer, and that's the appointment we're trying to get at this point.
Okay, so you want to get a time. Basically, you want to get a time to start that sales process, right? Over the phone, by FaceTime, by phone call, where you can start selling your value and collecting information.
Yeah, and we're setting an appointment to qualify the customer, essentially. Most of my customers are reaching out to us for our financing opportunities. And we would go down our normal sales process and figure out if they're here for a call or for our financing. We would do all that. And at that point, we'd set an appointment to get that customer qualified. And so that's what we're doing. And we're walking that customer through our application process and through our approval process.
Absolutely. And the idea of that is you want to start collecting all that information. Now, when you get that, you still need to send them to some sort of an application, right? Because you want a digital signature if you're the kind that's going to pull credit. You don't want to just, and maybe you can help me with this. If I'm getting all their information over the phone and I filled out the application by phone because I had them there, can I get a approval verbally that I can pull their credit? Or do I need them to jump on my website and click the little button and submit it so that I have it digitally?
So I would recommend them doing it digitally because I don't know about y'all, but everybody gets audited by whoever credit service they use. And you better be able to produce documentation showing that customer said it was okay for you to pull their credit. So I'm not exactly sure if a verbal phone call would do that. And maybe it does. Maybe there's a way to do it. We record all our phone calls, so maybe there is a way to do it. But I like the idea of the customer going to my website, and it's pretty simple. You look on our website, it says online approval. You click that button, you fill out a pretty simple credit app, and you click send, right? And we have it. It's pretty simple. And
that would be my thing is I've had an issue with the online credit apps that are like 5 pages long. To me as a consumer, I ain't going to fill that out. I'm not going to give you every last middle name and social security number of my kids and grandparents on your credit app. Like, I think if you get past the basics, like you're going to deter them. People don't want to sit down for an hour and fill out all these endless fields.
Right. You don't want to put barriers up for your customers, right? I think our online credit app is probably a page or less, right? And
Okay.
on that, they can submit documents that we want digitally through that. So there's ways to do it. We also created a PDF of our True Credit app that we can email to a customer, and they can fill out that PDF and actually digitally sign it and email it back to us. And we've got to have that credit app before we deliver a car anyway. So there's different ways to go around this, but most people's websites should have a credit app, online credit app they can use, or their DMS should have it. So there's different ways to get this done. I think you could probably fill it out over the phone, email it to the customer sign it and email it back to you. I think you could work it out there. So there's definitely different ways to do this.
And so that would be our fourth step is let's talk about, there are many, many different ways to collect the stips. And I think sometimes as salesmen and sales professionals, we get so caught up in the fact that we need some physical copy that we have to photocopy here at the office or this, that, or the other. I mean, people don't, there's a million ways for you to get me your pay stubs and your bank statements and your,
Yeah. And we, like I said, on our website with our application, you can upload those files right there. It's pretty simple. You click on it, it says choose file. It can be a JPEG, PDF, no matter what, you can get it to us. And so we try to make it easy for the customer, right? And if you can't upload it, well, email it to us. You get digital copy from your job, email it to us. Take a picture of pay stub, text it to us, whatever you need to do to get the information we need, do it, right?
Yeah. And that's one of the big things is I think and maybe you have the same situation, but your office phone number receives text messages, right? And pictures. So someone can just snap a picture of their pay stub, snap a picture of their proof of residency and text it over to you. And that's the easiest thing for our customers to comprehend. They all know how to screenshot off their phone. They all know how to take a picture and text it to you. Getting them to download a PDF and print it and sign it and then scan it back in and then send it to you is going to be a lot more difficult. But
it is.
Think outside the box when it comes to the way you can get those stips. And probably as a caveat to this and a little like a footnote is check them, verify them. Fraud, a lot of fraud out there right now, guys. So when it comes to stips, you've got to be checking and calling that employer and making sure it wasn't their very last pay stub they just sent you.
We got an interesting thing going on right now in our economy because of layoffs and the amount of unemployment that happens so quickly. So just because you get that last pay stub doesn't mean that they're still employed. Okay, they may have quit working 15 days ago at this point, maybe 30 days ago. So it's a crucial time to be verifying that employment, I think.
And just as a question for you, I know a lot of the people in my area and neighborhood, I mean, on my typical approvals, these guys are making $1,200 to $1,500 a month, right? Some of them are getting a pretty good pay raise with the new unemployment situation. Would you go out on a limb and factor that into an approval and say, hey, this he's going to get some pretty good government money for the next 6 months and he's always worked. He's going to go back to work somewhere eventually. This might be one of those guys that no one else will touch that I could maybe pick up a good paying customer for us buy here, pay here guys.
I think it depends on their job history, Jeff. I think if their job history is strong, let's say they worked at the same restaurant, Jeff, as a line cook for 15 years. Well, I feel pretty sure that job is coming back, right? As soon as we get through this, he's going to have a job. And so I know he's laid off right now. I know he's getting unemployment. If he produces his unemployment, documentation, then I would probably take a chance on the guy if he's really stable. If it's a guy who had just started as a line cook 2 months ago and was laid off and now has unemployment, I doubt I would take the chance on that guy.
Yeah.
So I think it's I think there's going to be so many unique opportunities we have right now. I mean, it's just going to be, you're going to have to kind of make the book up as we go.
Yeah. You do. You look for those little teeny diamonds in the rough that might be a weird out of the box type approval, but it could turn into a great paying customer and a lifelong customer because you stepped in and helped them out at the hardest time in their life.
Yep.
Hey everybody, Jeff here. Sorry to interrupt the interview, but I wanted to make sure everyone knew about the new and improved VIndependentDealer.com website. It is the place to find out what is going on with the podcast. Check out all of our episodes on iTunes, our social links. You can also give us your email and we will add you to our mailing list so you are the first one to know about what is coming up, new and exciting here at the podcast. Also check out our video library. You can also ask us questions, find out more about myself and Luke, and see our calendar of events, places we'll be speaking, where you can catch up with us and meet us in person. So VIndependentDealer.com. And now back to the interview. Now, to move on, one of the hardest parts is going to be getting these customers comfortable with a vehicle virtually or digitally or maybe hands off. What's your policy there for test drives and looking at the car and kicking the tires?
I'm going to kind of tell you what we would do normally. Okay. Mm-hmm. Normally, when a customer came on our lot, the first thing we'd ask them, are you here for a specific car? Or are you here for our financing program? Right? Everybody knows about our financing program. Typically, a customer would say, I'm here for a particular car. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Well, do you have your own financing set up, or are you here for our financing program? Right? Mm-hmm. So we can get them, okay, we know they're here for a specific car and we know they're here for our financing program. Well, that means we might be able to sell them that specific car, or we could trade them to something else because they're here for our financing program, right?
Yeah. Right.
So ultimately, they're here for our financing program. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, they need to buy a car and they want to buy a car. So at that point, we work into their budget. And so that's what we're trying to do during the process, work them to a budget where we know they can afford which cars. Once you do that, you may have 4 or 5 cars that fits their budget, right? Mm-hmm. So then we go, okay, this is your budget. We've got a Nissan Altima. We've got a Toyota Camry. We have a Civic. We have a Corolla. These are the cars. Which one of these 5 do you like? Well, I like these 2. Okay, so we're doing this virtually. We know they like these 2. Okay, what we'd like to do now is a virtual walk around, a virtual test drive. Are you comfortable with that? Mm-hmm. So yes, okay, so we go to the 2 cars. We do a virtual walk around of both of them. So then we would ask the customer again, okay, we did the virtual walk around. Do you prefer one car over the other? And decide, well, I like both cars. Well, I like that one. Okay, you like that one. What we're going to do is we're going to start the car. Yeah. We're going to let them hear the engine doing FaceTime or Skype or whatever.
Yeah, send them a video. Yeah.
Sure. And we'd probably go on a test drive with 1 or 2. Well, I'm not saying we do it with one person in the car because it might get a little dangerous. So we may do a virtual test drive with someone driving the car and the salesperson filming the drive, so they can hear the noises or anything like that. And I'd recommend doing that right now because that will make the customer feel comfortable with what you've got.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and if they love the car, they come in. When they're coming in, they come in and test drive the car. We wipe everything down. The customer test drives the car. They love it. We sell them right there, right?
Yeah. And I think really what this all comes down to, and the great part of your process is, the biggest issue I have is sometimes my sales guys just turn into these freaking key runners and they're just running keys all over the lot like a chicken with their head cut off. And I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we shooting all across the lot, showing these guys every single car? It's just madness. So hopefully this will force our guys, not only are we mandating it because of health, but it's also just good practice to narrow down to that 1 or 2 cars. Let them pick. Do you want the white one or the black one? Yep. Here's a couple walk around videos. Great. Come in, test drive the black one, and let's get you going.
So Jeff, what you've got is you've got to break down your process. Your salespeople aren't asking the right questions to car the person down, and that's a big issue with all salespeople is they don't want to ask the right questions.
Yeah,
and they've got to be
scared to get the wrong answer.
They've got to be trained to ask. These are the specific questions we ask. If I see one of my salespeople walk in and grab 2 sets of keys back to back, I'll say, hold on, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That customer is leading you. You've got to lead the customer.
Yeah, I locked the key box once. Took the key. You got 1 set of keys. That's it.
That customer's driven how many cars? No. We're stopping right now.
So we could do all this. We can have them come in, and of course that's your dealership's policy, whether you are going to allow a test drive under certain conditions, whether you want to deliver the car to the customer.
Yep.
if you can get the virtual signings, and we'll talk about that, but you can deliver the car straight to them. Sure. Under this situation, if you have certain fallbacks, maybe you need a 4-day money back guarantee. Maybe you need a 3-day exchange policy to give that peace of mind. You know, like people look at the Carvana model. Sure, I'm going to pay a little bit more for this car. It's going to be delivered to my house. I can return it in 7 days. No questions asked. Mm-hmm. That gives me peace of mind. And the guys at Carvana just know the ratios are going to work for them.
That's right.
Out of every, I don't even know what the number is. Out of every 100 deliveries, they might have 1 or 2 cars returned, right?
I bet it's less than 3%. Yeah, for sure.
I think if you talk to anyone that has a money back or an exchange policy in place, they will tell you it is a moot point. I know Tracy Myers is a great example. He said he's in the 10 years he's done it, he's done like 5 cars or something.
And I would recommend a exchange, not a money back. You know, that would be me. But you know, whatever you may want to do.
We do a 4-day exchange policy here because I like the fact that if my salesmen have not sold you on the car that you're buying, the needs, the wants, and really got you in bed with this thing and put to rest all your issues, I think you should come back and exchange it because you decided you needed the 3rd row or you didn't need the 3rd row, or that just seems to me like a breakdown in the sales process.
And it may be, but you know, sometimes customers, they buy exactly what they want and then tomorrow they don't want it either. So, you know, that happens.
Mm-hmm. But that's more of a buyer's remorse. They want to give it back. Yeah. I would try to avoid that, of course.
Yeah. You know, we talked about all the things leading up to it, and we've carved somebody down, and we've done the virtual test drive. We've done all of this, but there's a piece of this puzzle we've got to integrate, and that is the virtual F&I. You know, it's been a big move into a lot of these dealerships. You know, you can actually have a robot doing F&I, you know, or like the website you want to, you know, you pick what you want. Well, my salespeople do F&I. They do, I do the financing side of it. They can quote payments, but they're selling gap and they're selling extended coverage and things like this. And we give a customer 6 possible payments on every car. And it's 100% of the product, 100% of the time. So I would encourage you, while you are moving to this new process, to do the same thing. Don't hit the customer with 1 payment, hit them with 6 payments. And you'll be amazed how many times they pick the most expensive payment because it's got the most coverage. And people want coverage, especially in a time like this where there's uncertainty and all this is going on. Wouldn't it be nice to know that you could be protected for 36 months or 48 months or whatever it is? So, I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity to sell more product right now than normally. And you can do it virtually. It's simple. Get on a Zoom call, get on a FaceTime, you know, show them, hey, this is what it is. What do you think? You know, so go to a 4-square, geez, you know, 6-square, whatever you want to do it now, because customers will appreciate that. They want options. They want security. So make sure that you're doing all of this digitally.
Yeah. And what sticks out to me is, you know, it's so easy to try to do it by text or email or leave a message on their phone, which is kind of, I feel like, the cheap way to do it. And that's the non-committal way. If you can get a customer on a FaceTime phone call or a Zoom meeting, or even send them a video of your voice and face, that's going to create that connection. It's going to create that endearment. So if you can implement that early in the process, these guys feel committed, they get endeared to you, they like your personality, you're able to connect with them, as opposed to just throwing them 2 or 3 payment options by email or text. It's very cold and it's very easy for them to shoot those down, or, you know, not have some buy-in.
I bet if you took the amount of appointment shows, and this goes back to appointment shows from when we actually could have appointments here, of people who sent them video of themselves compared to text or phone calls, the appointment show on those people is probably 20 to 30% higher, maybe 50% higher than those who did not interact with actual face-to-face. So video is huge. We need to be using it. And FaceTime is easy to use. Skype's easy to use. Zoom's easy to use. So you got to do it.
Yep. And then to wrap all this up, we finally get to the delivery and the signing. Now, obviously there's options, like we can deliver the car, we can send over DocuSign or e-sign or any of these options. Obviously you need to check with your state. I know here in Utah, I have to have 2 documents that need wet signatures. So for me, I have to sit down with the customer or at least stand in front of them and have them sign, I think, 3 places. And so for me, if I'm going to have them 3, I might as well have them sign all 20. Yeah. So I don't do any kind of an e-signing. I do, wet signatures on everything. But depending on your state and your preference and your ability for technology, those are options, right?
For sure. And, out of the 22 documents we have, 24 documents we have, 2 have to have wet signatures. And we can email over our documents straight from our DMS, and they can print out and sign everything if they wanted to. And then they could deliver them back to us. We could sign it to consummate the deal. But still, we've got those 2 documents that have to be wet signatures. And we can still bring customers into our office, and we do that one at a time, only when they are purchasing. Mm-hmm. So I would say keep your staff safe, keep your customers safe. Make sure you don't have a lot of people standing in your office, because it's not how we're going to beat this thing. So use your head when it comes to these type things. And if the customer wants you to deliver the car to their house, do it. Take it to their house. Let them walk outside. Sign it on the hood of the car. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to do, y'all. It's not the end of the world, hopefully. And we can still sell cars, and we still have to sell cars if we're going to stay in business.
Absolutely, Luke. All awesome points, all great things that we need to remember. Get our virtual showroom and our virtual sales process set up and running. Unless the state tells you cannot be open and you cannot operate, we're still selling cars, in my opinion, and we can be smart about it and we can be safe and responsible. To me, having a reliable vehicle is an essential business. Obviously, yep. I sell cars, so I'm going to say that. But everyone else, I think it's hard to argue that point, that people don't need cars at certain points in their lives and have to have outlets to buy them to get around. So we can do it. We can be smart about it. We can keep moving forward. We just need to adapt a little bit, change our process, change our techniques, And
I honestly think, Jeff, we're getting toward the pinnacle of this, and we're about to be on the other side. And I think things are going to loosen up a little bit. But this time is a time to learn and a time to refocus on the processes you have in place. Mm-hmm. And what can we do to be better? And we got to do that. If we do that, the next time, don't get me wrong, we're going to lose some dealers here. It's going to happen. And I don't want any dealers to be lost. But, the ones who get out of this are going to be ones that change with what we're doing and really seize the day and do it right. And that's what we got to look at.
Awesome. Luke, stay happy, stay healthy, man. And we'll talk to you next week.
All right, man.
Thank you for joining us today. Hope this episode inspired you to take positive action. Remember to subscribe so you get each episode the day it comes out. And we would love your help spreading the word. Leave us a review and share this podcast with your dealer friends. Dealers helping dealers learn and grow together.